Hi everyone, my name is Elene Lam. I use she and her pronouns. I am the Executive Director of Butterfly Asian and Migrant Sex Worker Support Network in Canada, and I am also teaching at York University, Department of Health Policy and Management. And I'm so glad to have a chance to talk to you about the migrant sex worker justice today. And I would like to share the screen so that you can see some very powerful image, and many of them is taken by the community member. Okay, so it is very important that for us to understand the migrant sex worker issue from the migrant sex worker justice perspective. Instead of helping, saving, we as an organization Butterfly is rooted in the belief of the rights of migrant sex worker, the agency of the migrant sex worker, and fighting for the safety, dignity, and justice. So we also hope that the allies will do the same thing. And I will talk more about it today. So Butterfly, this is a brief introduction of the work of Butterfly. Butterfly is a community-led organization, so building the leadership capacity of the community member is very important. And because migrant sex worker is being discriminated, isolated, and criminalized, so the how to support the community to build a relationship with each other is very important. In order to do this, we do a lot of groundwork, including provide outreach, hotline, and many different kind of supports, including social, health, and legal support. And very important work is not only helping and saving, as I said, because in the process of working with the community, we find there is a lot of injustice of the legal system and also the social system. So that's why the advocacy is very important. And we also do a lot of research and public education, and as well as a lot of emergency support to the community, particularly in crisis situation and like violence, arrest, and detain and deportation. So all this work is very important to inform our knowledge about the issue faced by the community, and I would like to share a bit with you. It is very important we start with the collective voice of migrant sex worker. And so this is our first art project of Butterfly. So we invite the community member to draw the butterfly, but also like write the message to the society. And it is very important to recognize the diversity and intersectionality of migrant sex worker. So this is very important to know about. Not only they have different identity as women, queer, trans, people of color, low income, migrant, sex worker, language barrier, different culture, etc. But also understand the intersectionality with the lens of like how they are being oppressed by so many different kind of oppression, like sexism, racism, classism, xenophobia, homophobia, and then how white supremacy play out. And I will talk more about it. And so when I tell the other people I work with migrant sex worker, and so often the people will come with the assumption that migrant sex worker, they are being exploited, they are vulnerable. But when we talk about migrant sex worker, actually we talk about people, migrants from one place to other place, that experience is very diverse because of the different identity. For example, the Montreal sex worker come to Toronto, they may have some language barrier if the English is not their first language, but they will not lose the immigration status, that they still can access of any kind of rights. Like migrant sex worker, there is also a lot of Canadian, US sex worker work in Thailand and other Asian countries. But because of white supremacy, they do not face the level of like policing and racism, like the racialized sex worker, for example, from the third world country or global south in Canada. So this is very important that we need to understand the diverse experience and also acknowledge the oppression is not coming from migration or sex work itself. It's come from different kind like of oppression. So So that's why for us working with migrant sex worker, what we found is very powerful. Actually, sex work often is not the oppression, but rather is the resistance of many kind of oppression, like racism, classism, sexism, and capitalism. Like, so for example, this is a quote of Betty. Betty is a trans sex worker, and she found that actually work with the sex worker, that she found that she can make the decision she can feel free, and then to against the gender oppression, and to against the transphobia. And like Pearl, being a sex worker, that she can use her skills, she feel more fulfilling than many other jobs. So that's why it's very important to recognize, no matter this is the best option or the only option of the migrant sex worker, this is still the decision making of the person that we need to respect. Some of the sex workers do it because of the economic advancement, self-actualization. Some people, they want to do it because they want to pursue their dream. Some people, that is the only option in their life. But no matter how, we still need to recognize the rights and capacity of people to make the decision. And as I said before, of course, the option of their life is really affected by the different kind of life situation and oppression they are facing. And when we talk about migrant sex worker, people immediately we associate with violence. So this is the violence of the community often face, like workplace violence, exploitation. Sometimes they also have the violence from intimate partner. They may have the violence by the perpetrator, not only at the workplace, right? Not only people visit the place to rob them. We often say people go to rob them, they are not client, they are actually the perpetrator. But there is also a lot of neighbor, the banker, landlord, even service provider is also abused and impose the violence against them. And particularly, who are the major source of violence of sex worker actually is the state violence, including law enforcement, immigration officer, prison guard, and many other kind of law enforcement, particular police. And then like indigenous racialized migrant, we see how they are disproportionately being racial profiled and criminalized. So for example, we seldom hear the police go to the raid in Four Seasons or Sheraton, this high-end expensive hotel, right? But rather they may go to the motel or like on the street, or the apartment the racialized particular migrant sex worker are working in. So, and this is again from Butterfly working experience, 60% of the community member have reported different kind of violence from the law enforcement, including detain, arrest, and then target by the law enforcement. But even when they report the crime, they report the violence against them, they are often being arrested and detained. For example, assault, robbery. And it is also very important that we recognize and realize when people see sex work itself as violence, the actual violence experienced by the community, by the sex worker are not being recognized and addressed. And I will talk more about it later. So, and this is a table because I think when we talk about sex worker issue, people say, oh, there is a debate, people have different view on sex work. So that's why I would like to really show you how different perspective of sex work actually affect what kind of policy, what kind of understanding, and how it affects the sex worker. So, and some anti-sex work women group, I don't call them feminists because they love police more than women. And some of them call caste feminists. They advocate for policing and criminalization to address the violence faced by the women. And I call them prohibitionists because their goal is very clear, often is ending sex work. Many of them is the white savior, religion organization, and anti-sex work group. What do they see sex work? Actually, they see sex work as exploitation, as the violence against women. They see sex work itself as sex worker, if women involved in sex worker, they are the victim, they are the slavery, and they are very narrow definition of the gender. They often only see the victim are the woman also. And they see sex work itself is causing the psychological harm, and it's also reinforced the gender inequality. So that's why they have to go that to ending sex work. They also believe that no one will consent to do sex work, and then so the consent actually is under the social coercion of the male demand. And they do not believe the sex worker can have the agency because they see the woman is being objectified, and then they often use this language, the woman being lewd in sex industry, they are being brainwashed, or even they have the Stockholm syndrome that they don't know actually they are the victim. And then all this assumption actually is denial the agency of the sex worker. And what do they advocate for is exiting program. Instead of respect the agency and create more option, this perspective often advocate for the approach that the woman need to leave sex industry. And then there is a lot of exiting program, assist the woman, retraining, and so even like create, provide shelter, make them stop the work and rely on the social system. And what the legal model they're advocating for, now they appropriate the language of decriminalization. They claim they are advocating for decriminalization of sex worker, but it is often not true. They are still advocate for criminalization of sex work. And some of them may advocate that the sex worker themselves get immunity, but then they advocate for the third party client or the sexual activity is criminalized. And when buying sex or the third party is criminalized, sex worker is working in a criminalized environment, and sex worker themselves often is being arrested also, because when sex worker helping each other, they will become the third party and they can be charged. And the criminalization environment also increase the policing, racial profiling, and make the workers be more vulnerable. And they really see law enforcement and also even social worker as a rescue. They are the savior, they are the hero that to save the ignorant woman. And the other perspective is the post-sex worker rights group, particularly now have a lot of police and prison abolitionists. They hold this perspective. They see that sex work is a form of labor. It's immoral, emotional labor, and this is a legitimate work. Instead of having these moralistic judgments, this is bad thing. Instead, they really see sex workers as workers. They are the free agent and making the determination of their life, and decide to use this work to learn a living, or gain different kind of social assets. And what they see the harm actually not come from sex work itself, instead is coming from the systematic oppression. It is caused by the criminalization, policing, and discrimination. And they really truly believe that the people have the decision, they have the rights to decision about their body. This is maybe the only option or best option, no matter how. This is the decision that people should be respected. And some of them also believe that the sex work is actually the liberation of sexuality, and also like a different kind of oppression, and particularly imposed to women and also LGBTQ community. And what do we need to support sex workers? So instead of taking away the job, taking away of the option, is support to address the root of the problem. For example, racism, for example, poverty, for example, the anti-migrant sentiments, so they can assess the rights. So what is the legal model is through decriminalization of sex work, including client, sex worker, and third party, and any activity in sex work. So just treat this as other kind of industry, and stop the police abuse, racial profiling, and also looking at like how to do the transformative justice, what is the alternative to the prison and criminal system to address the issue and violence faced by the community member. And I hope this table can give you some idea when you see some organization, they say, I am support the decriminalization of sex worker, but then you may need to ask, what is the position? Are they aiming at liberating sex worker? They can have right to continue the work, or they already have the assumption that no one wants to do this job, and then they are advocate for criminalization of sex work and like shutting down of this industry. So, and this is the research we have done is called Causeway Web. You see, and particularly Asian and migrant sex worker, they are facing the intersect of different kind of law. That this law is from a web that to catch the butterfly, the migrant sex worker. So including criminal law, including immigration law, municipal law, and last 20 years, there is increasing of anti-trafficking initiative, so that a lot of funding, different level of the law, including like, for example, Ontario have the Bill 224, the Bill 251, that is increase the power of law enforcement can enter any place, anytime to take any information. And so that like the support system, clients, party and sex worker is often being criminalized. However, for many migrant sex workers, actually they are the system of support care. And now we talk about mutual care, but when they have this mutual care, for example, a partner of a sex worker help them to use credit card to do advertisement, they will become illegal and they will be arrested and deported also. So I know that many people concerned about sex worker because they're concerned about women's rights. They may identify themselves as feminists. So this is amazing poster I love a lot. Like a prison is not feminist. So instead of advocating for prison, we know that how the marginalized woman, indigenous, racialized woman is often being targeted by the law enforcement and the criminal law is to use against them, that we hope more feminists will support, take away the law, take away the criminalization of the woman, instead provide more support. So, and then now I would specifically talk more about the anti-trafficking movement, because now have so much advertisement everywhere. Human trafficking is horrible crime that we need to work together to crack down. But actually many anti-trafficking movement actually is create a moral panic and reinforce the myth about sex worker, particularly migrant sex worker, and also massage workers, because massage, particularly run by Asian women, they are being seen as associated with sex work. So that's why in last 2 decades, we also see the very well-funded anti-sex work organization. They are advocate for shutting down Asian massage parlor. And again, they see sex work as sexual exploitation. Immediately, they see sex workers are traffic victim because no one wants to do sex work. They are being brainwashed. They are ignorant. They are being lured in sex industry. They cannot help themselves. So that's why they need to be rescued. And particularly, this label is very successful to put on like the indigenous, youth, and migrant. And so, and this is very important. We need to know that the police and social worker is often being framed as hero, even actually they are harming sex worker. However, this image actually do not reflect the life and the reality of many migrant sex worker. So this is the image that is when the Toronto concerned about the human trafficking, actually the massage workers are being arrested. In this anti-trafficking initiative, who are actually benefit is not the sex worker, it's not the traffic victim, it's often the white savers. And often is the government, politician, even they do all the best thing when they do say like I am supporting human trafficking, or they propose the anti-trafficking laws, often they will get a lot of support. Then no matter how conservative they are, even some progressive human rights group, they will still support them because it was being perceived as a good policy. And so the other people benefit, law enforcement, and particularly even now have so strong calling for defund police. But when the police appear as heroes, saving the woman, CPSA by law enforcement officer, and they get a lot of support to continuously increase their resources, power, and funding. And the NGO social worker, there is increasing criticism about the NGO and social worker because they are often acting for the state to surveillance and also control the marginalized. And many of these organizations, particularly the anti-sex work organization, religion and moralistic organization, they get so much funding to promote the anti-sex work moralistic agenda, increase the surveillance of the community. And instead of protection, they are the major source of violence against sex workers. So this is the report Butterfly have done in 2018. So it's document 18 story of Asian migrant sex worker. When the newspapers say the police rescue the woman, what is actually behind the rescue? Is the woman being traumatized? They are being detained, arrested, and deported. So this is one of the message I received when the police have the raid, and they say they rescued the woman, but the woman actually feel that experience is they're being arrested, detained, and she was being detained 30 days, and after that she got deported. And this is a very powerful image because when she was detained, she was not able to get bail because the judge say, I need to protect you. You don't want her to be affected by any trafficker and any client. They think they are criminal. So she even do not have chance to pack her belongings, even she has been here for more than 5 years. And this is the rice cooker. We send an image to other sex workers to see whether some of them would like to know. And all this like anti-sex work perspective actually is reinforce the violence and the hate of the sex worker. And in 2021, there were the Atlanta shooting. 6 Asian women in massage parlor was being murdered. But this is not only in US, but it's also often happen in Canada, including in Toronto. They are the anti-sex worker hate, also anti-Asian hate. And when the murderer said that why they killed the woman, because he wanted to end the temptation, from this woman, is no difference when the anti-trafficking organization say they want to eliminate this industry. And so it's not only the murder killing the sex worker, the Asian migrant sex worker and massage worker are being killed because of the racism, sexism, and also the phobia. They are killed because of the policing and criminalization that's put them in danger. And this is other very powerful group that they keep advocating, shut down all the massage parlor, particularly run by Asian women. They also advocate for the criminalization of sex work, even they do not directly work with the woman. This is the image to show how this white savior organization is so powerful. Many of them have very good connection with politicians, decision maker, like for example, the ex-ED of Canadian Center to End Human Trafficking, Barbara Scott. She has advocated to shut down all the Asian massage parlor, and 2,000 workers in Toronto almost lost the job because of their advocacy. So despite the massage worker keeps saying, I have right to work, I use my hand to earn living, I'm not traffic victim, I want to continue my work, don't shut down the business. But this white savior say that, oh, this woman are too stupid, they are brainwashed, they speak little English, they cannot consent, so they must be trafficked. And so this is other example. In 2021, the town of Newmarket is passing the law, has passed the bylaw that like only the workers get the training of Canadian education institution can get the license. It's very clear. It's racist, classes, and anti-migrant. And you can see the face. It is their reaction when our Asian workers and advocates talk about why they want to keep the work against the policy, but they have this disgusting face, how they keep dismissing the voices of the workers, And so Defend Dignity, Bridge North are the big advocate of shutting down the Asian massage parlor. And so it's so disappointed after they passed the law. They very clear say that the purpose of the law is get rid of sex worker, and they are very proud that they have for all of them. And this is really disgusting. And again, how we see sexism, racism, and anti-migrant and homophobia playing together to harm the sex worker and also people working massage parlor. So this is the conflation of the sex work, massage parlor, migrant, and Asian. So that they use the human trafficking actually to cover up the racist, xenophobia, and homophobia. And like May is one of the massage worker, how she say this is a double discrimination, racial discrimination, and like discriminated work. And this organization got so much funding, right? So like, for example, the Canadian Center to End Human Trafficking, they advocate for shutdown massage parlor. They got $14 million to run national hotline. They tell the public that they are providing information, but actually they are collecting data for the government. They are not only advocating for shutdown massage parlor, but they also advocate for increased investigation, prosecution, and surveillance of sex workers. They also like work with private corporation to surveillance and racial profile this Asian business, including financial institution. So this is again what they are doing, actually increase the violence and impose the violence against the community. So that's why we find this is so problematic, and we also find many exiting program. They claim rescuing the sex worker actually is imposed the violence instead of knowing the reality, what is the challenge people are facing. They are imposed a moralistic agenda. Even the exiting of sex work often put them in a more vulnerable situation. And the NGO is benefit, like many staff, they got $60,000, salary, and then they give $20 or even $10 gift card for the sex worker, and force them to stop working and take that $10 gift card to attend the program. So this is often we hear what happened in the community. And so this is the education material. We would like to have more public, and also the NGO, they know that what the harm they are doing. And we say your moralistic agenda is not more important than our life, because this more panic against trafficking actually is more panic against sex work. At the end, it makes sex work be more vulnerable, and instead of support their rights. And so this is the image. Migrant sex worker is not human trafficking. And for Butterfly, last few years have been working very closely with the workers to push back the assumption Asian women are passive. They don't speak for themselves. So this is the image that like 300 Asian workers and allies actually went to the City Hall in Toronto to fight for the rights when City in 2019-18 want to propose shut down their business. They went to City Hall and speak out, say, we are not traffic victim. We want to continue to work, don't shut down the business, and how they keep fighting. And they also speak out with the family member that the Asian massage workers like strongly against any kind of discrimination. They want to keep the job. And in the anti-Asian racism event, because many anti-Asian racism group, even they advocate for anti-Asian racism, they left the sex worker behind. And in the event, the community members speak strongly to call for stop racism, stop Asian hate. And they also talk about police cannot protect us. We have to protect each other and fight with each other. So this is other example when Newmarket tried to shut down massage parlor, how the workers organize. And we also work with York University to create a seminar that the workers is able to get the Canadian education like credential. Again, this is a creative advocacy resistance. When you say you need to do have some training in order to impose the barrier, but how the worker is creatively work with allies to create a course they can continue to work. But in the fight is very important because over 150 organizations, including largest legal organizations like CCLA, LEAF, and many human rights organizations speak out and speak against this racist policy, did give some pressure to the town to recognize the credential. But the oppression of Newmarket is still not ongoing. This is not only in Newmarket, in Markham, Richmond Hill, and many cities is also continues to use the repressive by law enforcement against the massage worker, particularly Asian. And so that we really hope that like in different cities, more allies will work with the community member to make the people understand sex worker, massage worker is also part of the community. They should be listened and respect instead of being seen as, evil, being seen as victim. They need to eliminate it. And the other very important advocacy, again, is because sex work is being criminalized despite there was the constitutional challenge of Bedford case. The Supreme Court already say criminalization of sex work actually increased the dangers of the sex worker is unconstitutional. However, the conservative government and also this anti-sex worker group is working support the PACIPA. The new sex work law actually continues criminalize sex work and even criminalize clients, third party, and even all kind of communication. So that's why last year, Canadian Alliance of Sex Work Law Reform, which is formed by over 20 sex worker organizations in Canada, is doing the Constitution Challenge again. And it is the picture of the rally, how the sex worker and the allies came together to fight against, to urge the government to remove the criminal law against sex worker, because this is a major source of violence, a cause of the violence, but also this is also violates the agency of the worker. Unfortunately, the Ontario court just have the judgment that they don't listen to the worker, they dismiss the voices of the worker. But the sex worker group and allies will continue to fight. So hope you will also concern about this constitutional challenge to show your support. And this is again a very powerful image, right? It's not rescue. Instead of taking away people's work, make people be more vulnerable. What is needed actually is supporting people assess the rights, assess different kind of social support, and then believe in the people power, right? So you see the image instead of passive victim is very important. This is a powerful image that you need to recognize that remove the barrier actually can create a space for the community member to speak out. So this is the European campaign called Can't Sex Worker In campaign. We hope that in Canada, also different organizations, even university, will continue to support the sex worker campaign and including the sex worker campaign in your fight also. And this is other example because many violence against women organizations suppose they should stand with sex worker, but they are actually often against sex workers. So some of the Take Back the Night also organized by the anti-sex work organization, but increasingly more violence against women organization is willing and also advocating for the sex worker rights. And when we say we should not blame the women when they go out in the dark, sex workers should not be blamed. They do the work, right? So, and we hope that more women organizations, particular violence against women organizations, recognize when they dismiss the agency of the sex worker, when they make the sex work criminalized, actually they are imposing the violence against sex worker instead of like advocate with them to have their safety. And so they are the very important organization. They are changing their position against, they have been against sex worker, advocate for the criminalization of sex work, but they have changed their position now because there is strong allies, listen to the workers' voices, River Rape Crisis Center, now called SALA, is in Vancouver, Canadian Women Foundation, Live and Elizabeth Fry. So we hope to see more organizations be more supportive to sex worker. And the other strong allies is the abolitionist movement, particularly people in the defund police movement, because we were very disappointed when we hear some advocate or organizations say they advocate for defund of police against police violence, but at the same time, they are supporting the anti-trafficking work of the law enforcement actually is opposite with what they are advocating for. So that's why this is also the campaign. Butterfly want more organizations support the women's rights, people rights, instead of like putting more power on the police hand. And this is other campaign, support full decriminalization of sex work. And when we talk about migrant rights, having the immigration status is important, powerful way to help the workers to reduce the vulnerability, and status for all is also a very important campaign. Butterfly is working with Migrant Rights Network and other migrant organization is fighting for the status. That is the best way to help the migrants to access support service and also assess their rights, that they do not need to be forced to work in exploitative and violent situation. And so this is the call for the solidarity to support the migrant sex worker justice, instead of seeing you as the allies of sex worker movement, how you really see migrant sex worker is the member of your movement, right? So this is the intersection of the identity and movement. We hope that like people in the labor movement do not see them as ally, but rather when they fight for labor rights, how they include sex worker in their struggle, in their fight, in their advocacy work. So this is the last message I want to share with you. So hope you will enjoy this presentation and be the strong allies of migrant sex worker movement. And so support sex work is work, support full decriminalization of sex work, support the status for all, including the access without policy, support the labor rights, decent rights, and migrant sex worker justice. And so this is some of the resources Butterfly has produced to train the service provider how to better support migrant sex worker, but also recognize what is the legal challenge they are facing and how to understand and respect the agency of the sex worker. So this is also other reference, and hope we can have more chance to communicate. And so hope to see your support for migrant sex worker. So, and I have included the contact of Butterfly, so feel free to join us and be the volunteer, be the strong allies. In 2024 is the Butterfly 10 years anniversary. We are going to have different kind of celebration, and also we hope that to use this opportunity to help more people understand the importance of the migrant sex workers justice. Rights not rescue. We don't need rescue. We want more solidarity, and hope you will be part of the movement. Thank you so much. And Butterfly continues organize different kind of event. Feel free to join us, and thank you so much. Okay, have a nice day.